tons of stories out there about hacked Pokemon games. Some of them are really quite neat, such as the one about a version where you get a ghost as a starter. Some are ridiculous, silly stories about individuals dying after playing a game, or the game talking to them. God, don't these writers know less is more when it comes to these stories? Oh well, I digress. I grew interested in these hacked games that are apparently sold on any thrift shop, on eBay, or just handed out by homeless people to random passerbys. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting these creepy people, and I merely found this particular cartridge in a trash bin when the garbage truck had backed into my neighbour's dumpster. I noticed the game and asked the trash man if I could take it, and he didn't seem to mind. It was thrown away after all. I of course checked with my neighbour to confirm if they actually didn't want it, though they seemed perplexed, as if they had never even seen it in their life. Their son made a grab for it, a little boy who saw the Charizard on the cover crying out, "Pokemon, I want, mommy!" But his mother told him no, seeing as I found it. He didn't even have a Game Boy to play anyway, he just liked Pokemon. Thinking nothing more, I simply went home, looking at the cartridge's sticker on the way, just a plain old red version, the sticker torn slightly across the Charizard's neck, but that was expected with such an old game. I had the blue version as a kid, so I was a bit eager to see the, albeit minimal, differences that the red version had. And I was rather disappointed by what I saw when the title screen showed up. Pokemon Strangled Red version. Well damn, it was a hack. Hacks were neat and all, but they had zero monetary value. The originals are quite valuable by now, and I wanted to play Red anyway, not this crap. Oh well, it's free, I might as well try it. The name was odd however. Strangled Red. That made no sense, not even in a morbid description of someone being asphyxiated, as people would turn blue when choking, not red. Who knows, maybe there was a pair of these hacks, and I just got the red version. The more I thought about this though, the more interested I became. My initial disappointment turned into curiosity. I wanted to know what the creator had made, and I was going to know everything I saw. The first oddity I noticed was the starting screen had a Charizard next to the trainer, instead of the Charmander. Also, the Pokemon never cycled through like the original versions did, and it just stayed as Charizard, even after 5 minutes of waiting. Shrugging, I hit start, noticing there was no Charizard cry as I did, like there was supposed to. I saw that there was a continue option, so I figured I would do what everybody else did with games, and see what the previous owner had done. No. I blinked in surprise. No? What do you mean no? The game wouldn't let me continue no matter what I did. Though, on the fourth attempt, I heard the Charizard cry, quiet and barely audible, but there. Shrugging it off, I just decided to hit new game, like I would have done after checking out the old file anyway. The screen cut to black for a while, no Professor Oak starting theme, just nothing. Eventually the screen came back showing a bedroom, 2 beds, 2 TVs, and a computer in the corner. My trainer sprite was the usual one, consistent with the original red version. I was curious as to why they didn't ask my name, though that was answered as I opened the pause menu, noticing my trainer was named Steven. No, this isn't my real name or some stupid crap like that. This game isn't self-aware or haunted, at least not that I know of. It just already had a name chosen. Curious, I saw that he had the starter amount of money, no badges. He didn't look like Red though. His hair was longer, almost reaching halfway down his back. Red's usual smile was replaced with a confident smirk. Honestly, I found this sprite much cooler than Red's. Next I checked out his Pokemon. A single Charmander, level 5, named Mickey. Nothing was odd about it, or should I say her, with the name and all. She had beginning Charmander stats, only knew Scratch and Tail Whip, the basic stuff, and the game seemed relatively normal. Returning to the game, I walked about the room, noticing Steven's long hair was present on the back of my trainer sprite, when my back was turned to the camera. I didn't recognise the house, but I descended the stairs to see some more. Downstairs was another trainer, who spoke to me the instant I came down. "You ready yet?" "Yeah." I assume this Mike was my rival, pre-decided for me, a replacement of Blue most likely. Though I thought back to the bedroom having 2 beds, realising they weren't just rivals, they were brothers. They talked back and forth, basic Pokemon dialogue, become a Pokemon master, catch 'em all, you know, the stuff like that. Before having a little argument over which is better, Charmander or Squirtle, which of course led into the introductory battle, like the one versus Blue in the normal game. Simple enough, scratch, tackle, until I won purely for having the first turn. I took note of how much better Steven's sprite looked in combat compared to Red's. A different pose, his hair looking like it was actually blowing in the wind. A minor upgrade, but still much nicer. I left the house after some more banter with my brother, and stepped out to the Pallet Town theme. Going to the east, I found this was indeed Pallet Town. The house was simply on the outskirts to the west. I noticed that there was no mysterious grassy field like how it was in the normal Pallet Town. Wandering about, I decided to check in on Red's home. His mother was inside, and when I spoke to her, she commented on how handsome Steven looked, hoping her son would look up to him as a role model for when he became a trainer himself next year. Which of course led me to realise, this game was taking place a year before the original Pokemon. Red was upstairs playing the SNES in his room, commenting, "I'm gonna be the best too, when it's my turn." I started to like this hack. It was interesting, a completely new adventure, a different character. Hell, Steven even seemed to have history with the people in Pallet Town. A reputation, a personality beyond a silent protagonist. The people in town spoke to him as a person, making conversation, and not just sprouting tutorial crap. Even Blue's sister had dialogue, and they seemed to be in a relationship as well, as the dialogue ended with a kiss and a heart over her head. Professor Oak simply wished me well, and gave me a Pokédex to aid in my adventure. He wasn't giving it to me to be the reason behind the adventure like every Pokemon game out there. He gave it to me out of kindness, something to help me on the way. A gift. I was liking this more and more with each second. The game seemed to have an actual story now. I was somebody, not just a cookie-cutter protagonist that anybody could be, not some blank sheet that could be replaced without notice. The story was different too. The actual gameplay remained unchanged. I went north like I was supposed to, went from town to town, collecting badges and receiving the praise of the leaders. Steven's fame seemed to spread, as some NPCs would talk like they knew him. I used Miki for every battle, and she was growing surprisingly fast. She handled Brock with ease, even pounded Misty with no trouble at all. She wasn't as adversely affected by super effective attacks as the others were. Did more damage than a regular Charmander. She was a veritable powerhouse. She even became a Charizard at the mere level of 25. Not bad at all, I must say. Things started to get weird as soon as I reached Lavender Town. I know, Lavender Town is the focus behind every creepy story and the like. But it was the only place that was noticeably different. There was no Team Rocket invasion, which I found odd, though I did remember that this was a year in the past, so this invasion would not occur until Red's time. I tried to enter the Pokemon Tower, aiming to catch myself a Ghastly, but that's when it got odd. I have no reason to be here. Steven wouldn't go into the Pokemon Tower, no matter what I did. And this was weird. I mean, hell, there are a million places in Kanto you really have no need to be in. Little random houses with nothing but children NPCs, for example. Why was it here that Steven wouldn't enter? With a shrug, I figured I wouldn't even need a Ghastly, as Miki could handle everything. So I simply went on my way, Lavender Town serving no purpose other than a passageway and a Poké Center. The game progressed normally from there, The remaining gyms fell, and eventually I made my way to the Elite Four and defeated them easily. As with Blue, my brother Mike was there before me, initiating the championship battle, which Miki swept with ease. The aftermath of the battle was quite pleasant. None of the tension that was present between Red and Blue at the end of their match. The brothers congratulated each other and shook their hands before the screen went to white. No Hall of Fame, nor any credits. When the screen came back, it was at the house again. The two brothers were sitting at the computer conversating with each other. I don't want to. Come on, I just gotta borrow her for a second to finish the Pokédex. The entry won't register unless she recognizes me as a master for just a second. But she's my Miki. I promise I'll give her back. Come on, please? Yes, no. I was a bit perplexed, so I hit no to be cautious. Come on, please? No. Come on, please? I realized that this would simply continue as a loop until I hit yes, and so I did, just to see what would happen. Alright, this will just take a second, and then we'll both be Pokemon Masters. The screen changed to the animation shown when two trainers traded their Pokemon, which I found a bit weird seeing as I was alone, but whatever. This was what was apparently supposed to happen. Miki went first. I watched lazily as she began to travel down the trading tube. That made me jump. The sudden noise resonating in my silent bedroom, loud due to the volume being all the way up. Looking at the screen, I noticed that the game had seemed to freeze. Miki still in mid-trade, but the game wasn't doing anything. With a sigh, I just turned the game off, wondering when my last save was. And when the game turned back on, I stared for a moment at the start screen. There was no Charizard next to the trainer. Upon pressing start, I saw the new game option was absent, leaving only continue. This was strange to say the least, so I selected it. The game started without even showing my stats as usual, and my jaw dropped to what I was greeted with. 1 year later. The Lavender Town theme came first, playing its normal way, and the screen slowly fading in from blackness. Steven was in the Pokemon Tower, which made the music even stranger, because the Pokemon Tower had its own theme. He was standing in front of a tombstone not doing anything. Wondering what was going on, I pressed A. Confused, I tried walking, realizing I was indeed in control at that moment. I brought up the pause menu and checked my party. Miki was gone. Not just Miki, but all of my Pokemon. He had nothing. The Pokédex was completely absent from the menu, his bag was empty, and honestly concerned, I checked his trainer card. He had no money, he had no badges, and his playtime was 8,795 hours, which was impossible as I had only 30 logged in before. But that wasn't the strangest part. His picture, the picture of the handsome, confident young trainer, was different. His eyes were blank, his face turned slightly down, that smirk of his was gone, replaced by a lack of any expression at all. That long hair of his, before in a perfect perm, was now messy and unkempt. I couldn't look at him anymore, closing the menu. I went to move out of the tower, but with every step I took away from the tombstone, the screen flickered like it did when a Pokemon was poisoned. Gulping, I brought up the trainer card again, and his picture was getting worse. Every step I took, he hung his head lower and lower. His shoulder slumped. He bent over. By the time I had exited the tower, he was on his knees, hands to his face, his hair was draped across him. I'd guessed already what was going on, but this clinched it. I began to put some things together in my mind. I'd always wondered why there was no champion in the original game besides your rival. Why is it you, the protagonist, had to beat your rival when he just waltzed in, no previous champion to challenge? And then it struck me. The answer was right here. The previous champion gave up. His precious Miki was apparently dead, and with her, so died part of him. His Pokédex, the other Pokemon, his badges, his fame, all of it. He threw it all away. In that year, the year that I missed, the year where all of those hours came from, I even did the math. There is 8,665 hours in a year. Add that to my 30 from before, and it matched. Even so, the game continued. This should have been the ending, I thought. I mean, what else was there to do? I had no Pokédex, no Pokemon, nothing. What was I supposed to be doing? I spoke to everybody in town, and they all said similar things. Are you okay? Still mourning, I see. Everything will be alright. Please, is there anything we can do? Stephen never replied to them, and they all simply said the same thing over and over. I couldn't put the game down now. This was all so strange. Curious, I headed off into the tall grass, and eventually got into a battle with a Rattata. No Pokemon was sent out, it was just Stephen's sprite. I was wondering how I would even battle. The wild Rattata left you be. The battle ended without anything happening. This was interesting. And it happened with every Pokemon I encountered. Wild Pidgey ignored you. Wild Ponyta wandered off. The music never changed either. No matter where I went, the Lavender Town music came from the speakers following me. Sometimes slowed down slightly, sometimes it wasn't. I searched everywhere, every town, spoke to everyone, wondering just what the hell I needed to do. My frustration was mixing with the depressing atmosphere of all of this, making the experience altogether unnerving and uncomfortable. But I couldn't tear myself away. I was starting to get a bit angry though, nobody telling me anything besides giving me their condolences and trying to give me items like lemonade or coffee, each met with no. I slapped myself for idiocy, suddenly realising how likely the answer was right in front of me. Pallet Town, of course. When I went there though, it took a long time, having to walk, no Pokemon to fly with, no bicycle to ride, and Stephen only seemed to move half of the regular movement speed. It wasn't much different. I tried speaking to Professor Oak. These things happen. You were just unlucky. Next I tried Blue's sister. Please don't leave home again. Red's mother wouldn't even talk to me at all. With nowhere else to go, I walked to the west, finding the house from the beginning, which I'd never even entered since leaving Pallet Town. Inside was Mike, but speaking to him was just as useless. I'm so sorry. I pondered for a moment. If this was really the ending, Stephen doomed to do nothing but roam Kanto in misery, haunted by the memories, forced to listen to everyone's concerns about him. As a last-ditch effort to do anything, I went to the bedroom and walked over to the bed. I'm going to sleep. The screen faded to black for a moment, but then slowly faded back in, the world having a black tint to it, the Mike sprite laying in the other bed. I assumed this meant it was night. I'm going to do it. Do what? I had no idea. I tried inspecting everything in the room, and nothing happened. As soon as I left the house, another dialogue played. It can bring her back. It can do anything. What the hell was it? Something that could do anything? I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. Wandering about, I tried to leave Pallet Town the usual way. Not that way. He wouldn't go any further. I tried the houses. Screw them. I quirked my eyebrows at that, forgetting for a moment that this wasn't a real Pokemon game. The vulgarity just took me off guard. I continued to look around, but there was nowhere I could go, until I accidentally stepped on the ocean, and Stephen walked right in. Only the upper half of his sprite was visible, like the swimmers you encounter in the Cerulean Gym. I didn't know he could swim. The missing one. Missing one. I paused for a moment. No. He couldn't possibly mean... I hadn't even tried the missing no trick on this hack yet, but it just fit too well. That had to be what he meant. I surfed all the way towards Cinnabar. I began to feel something was off, more so than it already was. Silence. The Lavender Town theme had stopped, and there was no noise at all, nor were there any Pokemon. I continued going, finding Cinnabar and surfing up and down the east coast, and behold, Wild Missing No appeared. Mine. Missing No was caught. What the hell? Steven didn't even do anything. He just commanded that atrocity of broken data to join him. No. Became his possession. And it did. I was getting more and more disturbed by this. Checking the start menu, I saw Missing No wasn't in my party, but instead an item, making things even stranger. I checked the trainer card as well. Steven has his back to me, his long head draped behind him, his hands in his pockets, nothing else. Remembering what he said at the start of this night, I realised what I had to do. I surfed to land and made my way northeast to where Lavender Town was. Along the way, I noticed all the trainers, oddly still out at this hour. They wouldn't look at Steven, all of them turning away when he passed, even those that were normally static. I tried talking to one of the officers in the guardhouse type buildings. Just go. They all said the same thing, though that one sent chills down my spine. Sometimes dead is best. My hands were sweating by this point. Steven was about to try the impossible, something some would see as a crime against nature, which many of these people shared that opinion. I steeled myself. It's just a game, and I was going to complete it. It took an eternity to reach Pokemon Tower, but I got there eventually. Taking a deep breath, heading towards the tombstone, I remembered which one. The image of Steven standing before it was burnt into my mind after all. First I tried inspecting it. Miki. Nothing happened. With a gulp, I opened up the menu and selected Missing No from the bag. Steven, don't use it. I was reminded of when Professor Oak would magically tell you that you couldn't use a key item somewhere, like when you tried to bike inside of a building. Though the message this time was different, even worse. Steven responded to it. In a world that cheated me, why should I play fair? Steven used it. Steven obtained. What in God's name did I obtain? I couldn't tell you, because the game took away my control without any input. Steven began to leave the tower all on his own, walking single step by single step. The Lavender Town theme began playing again as he left the tower and began his excruciatingly slow journey against my will. Every time he crossed one of the borders where the music would change, it got progressively slower and slower and more disturbing, and by the time he reached Cerulean, it was a demonic rumbling. I just stared, watching him, trying to guess where he was going, but it was getting more and more obvious. He was heading to Pallet Town. The music had all but stopped when he got there, playing single note by single note. He went exactly where I guessed he would, right to his own house, inside and up the stairs. At this point there was no music. Steven moved step by step, stopping at his brother's bed, turning to face him. At first I thought the game had frozen. He didn't do anything. He simply stood there and I couldn't move him. I did however find that I could still open the pause menu. I was terrified to look, but I couldn't stop myself. I selected his trainer card. There was a low growl noise, like a Pokemon cry. Steven was looking at me again, directly at the screen. He was hunched over, his fringe obscuring his face. His hair was wild and feathered out. Between his fringe, there wasn't even a face at all, just black, two red eyes looking straight forward, and a white grin contrasting with the darkness. That wasn't all. His name was now changed to S!3V3N. I couldn't look away, my eyes glued to his. Not breaking contact for some time, my vision was starting to get blurry, until I couldn't see very well at all. My face grew wet. I was crying. like a baby. There was nothing I could do to hold back the tears. I was with this boy from the start. I built him up to greatness, and was forced to watch his decline after a tragic accident. And now he was this thing, this abomination. I watched him go insane. Halting my tears and wiping my eyes, I closed off the trainer card and tried saving the game, wanting to just quit. The game informed me that this was impossible.
Nothing can be saved now.
The pause menu wouldn't close, no matter what I did, so I was left with no other option. I checked the bag. Nothing happened. I checked Pokemon, and there was one. A single sprite met me. It had 0 HP, and its status was DED. Its name was $. I selected it, and I was greeted with 4 options. Status:
It's her.
Switch.
Never.
Close.
No.
And the last option: Strangle. My fingers shaking, I selected Strangle, and the menu closed, showing Stephen in the room again.
Goodbye.
The game shut itself off. I was more dumbfounded than I was frightened. In a bit of shock, I tried to turn it back on, and the title screen showed the maniac Stephen and a horribly glitched Charizard. I pressed start, then continue. All I saw was a zoomed out view of Pallet Town, showing Stephen's home to the west, tall grass surrounding it, those unmovable stones blocking it from the rest of the town. The image was completely static, no music, no movement, before fading to white and going back to the title screen. The title screen was as it was when I first popped it in, a trainer and a Charizard. I attempted to hit continue.
No.
And that, my dorks, was Strangled Red, a hacked Pokemon game creepypasta. Now what do I think of Pokemon Strangled Red after I've reread it for this narration? Honestly, it's not as bad as I remembered it to be. Obviously I still have issues with Lavender Town, Stephen ended up murdering his brother Mike, by strangling and whatnot. I still find all of that to be very cliche. Don't get me started on Missing No as well. So yeah, the story is definitely not without its problems, it has a fair few. But in general, I actually don't mind the start and middle of this story. I really do love the concept of it being 1 year before the events of Red and Blue. How it still keeps the continuity of Red being in his house as a little kid. I also love how you and your brother aren't like total douchebag rivals, you're actually good friends in the final champion battle. You're not really cocky or anything, you shake hands because it was a good match. I also really appreciate the love that's given to other characters. Like how Professor Oak gave Stephen the Pokédex not because he wanted him to continue a journey, but he gave him a Pokédex just out of the goodness of his heart because he wanted Stephen to do well. It wasn't like a requirement thing, he just gave it as a gift. Also, that's pretty cool that Blue's sister also kinda had a little romantic thing with him. I think that was pretty cool. And of course, I do like the details of all of the NPCs starting to ask Stephen if he's okay after he's lost Mickey. It retains the continuity of the fact that the people around Stephen treat him like a normal human being. They keep asking him questions, how he's doing, and treating him normal, like how you or I would treat each other. It gives Stephen a lot more character and personality, and a lot more relatability as well. I also appreciate that there's no blood or gore or some stupid stuff in this story, I really do like that. Of course, there is death and whatnot, but it's a Poképasta, it's typical. There are a few grammar mistakes in here which I had to course correct over. It was a bit to the point where it was actually noticeable, but honestly, this story really isn't as bad as I remembered it to be, but it's still nothing special in my opinion either. So if I had to give Strangled Red a final rating out of 10, I'm probably going to give it a 4.5 out of 10. I really want to put it as a 5 out of 10, but there's just some of the elements that's holding me back from doing it. So I'm going to compromise and put it as a 4.5 out of 10. It is almost there in terms of being like an average story, but there are certain key parts of the story that make me put it a little bit lower. But in general, I think Strangled Red was a little bit better than I remembered it to be. Also, I want to apologise for how inactive I've been with videos and whatnot. To be honest with you guys, it's been a rather rough day and a half for me at the moment, you know. I'm going through some things right now, and I'm trying my best to try and get more active into YouTube and other things, but there's other stuff in my life currently that take priority over it. But I'm going to try and do my best to get more stuff done. I've got projects in the work. I'm pretty sure you guys will like it when it's finished. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Hit the bell so you're always up to date with my latest videos. Join the Discord in the description. And of course, comment down below. What did you think of Strangled Red? Did you like the story? Let me know. But I will see you all in the next video. Take care, my darks.